We want them to know, yes, there's parking on the main street that is public parking. There are parking in these 2 lots. These 2 lots are easy to identify as being available. So we don't want them parking down here where, they may be blocking somebody's.
I wouldn't either. No. If I lived there. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Ed?
May I ask the applicant the hours of operation of the restaurant?
Do you have a general idea of what the hours of operation will be? They're talking about some lunchtime and dinner service, not breakfast.
Be similar to Abbey Park's hours.
Yeah.
So lunch is served?
Yep.
Well, in that case, when lunch is served, and the 2 parking lots are full for the new restaurant, where do the people park for the Falcone office building?
They will not be the full capacity of Falcone office building lot. This is all what we're discussing with the Board of Appeals. I don't mind getting into it, but we need to be sure we cover everything. The Falcone lot will not be fully available at lunchtime. Only a limited number of spaces will be available at lunchtime. The Board of Appeals is going to look at the capacity of the restaurant and the number of spaces available at lunchtime, and they are going to tell the restaurant what their capacity at lunchtime can be. In other words, they're going to say, you might have 160 seats, but we're not going to let you use 160 seats at lunchtime because you have X number of spaces, or they may say you have enough spaces. That's a decision they have to make based on this, the.
Who monitors that?
Most of your lunch crowd walks anyhow from the businesses around.
I'm sorry, I
That's
didn't
what
catch your
Abbey
Who
question.
monitors that regulation about parking spaces?
Well, the building commissioner and anybody else who's in there and doesn't think, it's being observed, they can complain, certainly. It can be monitored in any number of ways. It could be monitored by me or you, really. I mean, it's pretty easy to look in and see if they're over capacity. But the real issue is if there becomes a problem, because there's pressure on other spaces because of this restaurant, there will definitely be complaints and it would be enforced. That's how it's enforced, though, is by the building commissioner.
Can you tell me what Java Joe's,
Abbey
Abbey
Park.
Park will park now?
Abbey Park can address that. Vance Welch is here. We're going to be talking about that before the Board of Appeals. I can tell you that they do have other parking. They have secured other parking. We're not removing them from business operation or anything like it. We've been working together with them. And it's up to the board as to whether they want to bring in another restaurant owner to testify. We do need to cover a lot in this hearing, but I can tell you it's going to be covered. I know the Board of Appeals is going to hear about that as well, so whatever your desire is, we will do.
And
Or you can do, I guess.
did you agree to have a plan drawn up showing all the buildings, all the parking spaces, all the entryways, and so on and so forth? Did you agree to that?
All the buildings in the square or our building?
No, the buildings, for example, across the street, where there might be some parking.
Well, we have a plan already, because the East Milton Parking Access Study already has shown where all the lots are and who owns them.
What's the scale of that thing?
It's done, it's online.
What's the scale? Is that 40 scale? Does it show all the ownership and all the different times?
Shows all the ownership,
Yeah.
it shows all the parking spaces.
And the times and so forth?
The times change, those signs change per the traffic commission. Abbey Park, this board actually has Abbey Park as having a capacity of 60 during lunch because of parking issues.
So they're only allowed to have 60 seats.
Yeah, I remember it was reduced
Has
over
the
time.
applicant provided the traffic study? Yeah. I'd like to say one more thing to you, sir, before you leave. The bottom sketch there, yeah. I think we need dramatic change, not just the windows, but as Brian was saying, maybe something colorful, maybe, a little bit different, but so the neighbors across the street on Church Street, they have something other than a brick wall. First of all, we want the trees out front and the plantings out front to shield the cars from their view. And then the building itself, it's a little bit elevated on the other side of the church. The building itself has something that's going to be very pleasant, and Brian had some ideas. But before you do that, before it goes into effect, we'd like to approve it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's hear from the engineer.
Thank you, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Gregory Morse. I'm a registered engineer, Morse Engineering. We prepared the site plans for this project. I'll start with the existing conditions plan. We're going to kind of take it back a step. Let's start with square one. And I'm probably going to reiterate some of the work that's already been done tonight, but I want to make sure it's all clear. Starting on sheet 2 of my plan set, the property here consists of 3 buildings. It consists of the primary building. This is the one that's being converted into the restaurant, which houses number 556 through 558 Adams Street. Adams Street is along the bottom of the plan here. We have Church Street vertically on the plan. The Falcones, in pursuit of constructing a parking lot to support their business, purchased the 2 abutting properties to facilitate that parking lot. They purchased number 14 and they purchased number 10, Church Street, a 2-family dwelling and a single-family dwelling. Property line here that they own is shown in bold. It consists of 20,710 square feet. It is all entirely upland area. There are no floodplains, no wetlands issues. It's located entirely in the business zoning district. The business zoning district is shown here through a dashed line and travels south to Adams Street. The primary building, one that's to remain, the actual building itself is 10,680 square feet. You'll see that outside of the building areas there has been a bituminous concrete driveway constructed. There is a gravel driveway that's been constructed. There are very minimal landscaped areas around the site. The site is totally serviced by municipal utilities. It has service, municipal water, sewer, and electric out to the roadways. I'm going to flip to page 4, which is our site layout plan. The site layout plan depicts the raising of those 2 buildings on Church Street, 2 houses. The construction of a new parking lot. The parking lot is suited for 25 new spaces. It specifies new egress points to the restaurant facility. There's an access off of Adams Street. There's an access at the rear corner of the building here. This would be a main entrance point. We have an access at the back corner of the building. This is a loading zone, a kitchen access. There's also an access at the back corner, that is to the outdoor patio and dining area. Pedestrian access and walking access around the site. There's currently a sidewalk along Adams Street. There's currently a sidewalk along Church Street. We are maintaining those sidewalks. We're utilizing the 2 existing curb cuts. We're shifting them slightly, but there exists 2 curb cuts right now off of Church Street. As we stated earlier, the Falcones have begun some of the facade work on the existing businesses, the boutique, the barber shop, the salon out on Adams Street. They've also brought the entrances of those businesses into ADA compliance. Off of the back parking lot, we have new walkways, a new walkway from the parking lot up to the new main entrance in the back. We also have a concrete walkway around the back of the building to that outdoor patio area. Outdoor patio area is surrounded by a proposed gate and fence enclosure that is not meant to be an access point into the restaurant, but more for people in the restaurant to go out on the patio. Our primary access and egress is going to be either off of Adams Street or the back parking lot locations. The parking lot itself, Church Street, is a one-way street traveling down or in a southerly direction. Adams Street, as you know, is 2-way access. So what we've done is we've provided a one-way parking layout where a car would enter. We have signage out here that this is an entrance-only location. Cars can pull in and park in any of these spaces. We have conventional parking spaces. We did not take credit for any compact spaces. These are all standard sizes. We provide an ADA-compliant van space at the closest possible location to the entrance. As far as loading, as far as dumpster refuse, what we've done is we've located a dumpster at this location. We had located it previously along this property line, but we have relocated it. We heard from an abutter to the north, and we were able to pull the dumpster back further onto this property. It is entirely within an enclosure. It's not open to the parking lot. It's in a gated enclosure, and it's the closest point to our kitchen, so it makes for easy access in and out of the kitchen. As far as deliveries, what we anticipate is all the deliveries would actually be able to occur in the parking lot. They're not going to be parking out on Adams Street or out in the streets like they do at some of the other restaurants in the square. What they'll be able to do is a truck will be able to access the site. These parking spaces here are hatched. This becomes our loading zone. And what we do is we would schedule the deliveries to occur in the morning hours. As you've heard, we anticipate business being open for a lunch schedule, a dinner schedule, not breakfast schedule. So we would schedule deliveries for morning. As traffic comes around, we have a stop sign and stop line. We have a right turn only sign directing people out to Adams Street as they exit. Along the northern portion of our parking lot, what we've proposed is we've proposed double stacked parking, one car in front of another car, and we've proposed that through the use of valet parking. That also has to go along with the use of the Milton parking lot, or sorry, the Franklin Street parking lot. What we would have is we would have a sign out here at the entrance of our site saying that additional parking is available, or parking is available on Church Street. As you come into Church Street, we have a valet station where you could drop your car. A valet attendant would run your car over to Franklin Street. Your patrons are then dropped right here at the entrance. There's no need for them to traverse from Franklin Street to the site. In the event they do, that Franklin Street lot, we're talking like it's a far distance. It really isn't. I don't have the exact measurement. It's less than a block away. I can provide the calculations on the distance. There is existing sidewalk along public rights-of-way. We can certainly look into construction of a pathway. Construction of the pathway that was talked about earlier would be across a private property of another landowner. I don't know that that'll be feasible. We'll certainly look into it. Flipping to page 4 of the plan, we've proposed upgrades to the utility services and to the drainage on the property. The site will be serviced by new municipal sewer service out to Church Street, as well as 2 new water services, a potable water service, as well as a fire water service. The building itself is undergoing, as you know, a complete gut. It is going significant structural renovation and seismic renovations with the building as well. The parking lot area here, when we run the calculations, I did submit a full stormwater report with calculations in it as part of the application package. It documents the existing rates and volumes of runoff versus the proposed rates and volumes of runoff from the site. Basically what we provided is we provided a HydroCAD model that takes the existing conditions and determines how much water is leaving the site. And then we've run it with our proposed conditions. And what you'll see in the report is there's already so much impervious surface on this site between the existing buildings, the existing parking lots, and driveways associated with those buildings that post-development, there's only an increase here of impervious surface of 1,050 square feet. So it's a very minimal increase in impervious surface. What we've done, right now, this whole back area drains to 2 leaching catch basins. Leaching catch basins are old, they're outdated, they don't provide any sort of stormwater management if there was an oil spill in the parking lot or anything like that. So what we've done is we've provided a brand new, fully compliant drainage system I've highlighted here in blue. The parking lot all drains to a catch basin right here. This is a deep sump hooded catch basin. It's equipped with a Storm Scepter 450 particle separator. And then stormwater is recharged into the ground through the use of Cultec recharger chambers below the surface. The resultant here, documented in the report, is that the rates and the volumes of the stormwater coming off the site post-development are equal to or less than what exists today. Also included in that document are construction phase erosion control and sedimentation plans and procedures, as well as post-development procedures, outlining the maintenance requirements for the catch basins, outlining the maintenance requirements for the subsurface systems to ensure that they are upkept for drainage compliance. Flipping back to our site layout, sheet 3. On this plan, what we did is we've added landscaping on this plan. Landscaping here, as you saw in the section here, we've proposed landscaping along that back facade, a landscape bed throughout here. But more significantly, what we heard from abutters when we went to the ZBA hearing is they did not want to see, they wanted significant screening along the side here, especially along the north. And so what we've proposed is we've proposed 8-foot-high evergreen screening, Leland cypress or arborvitae, something that's going to create a permanent evergreen screen. And that starts at the corner of the property, and you'll see it traverses, the whole way, the whole northern edge. It also encompasses around that outdoor seating area. We would supplement back here with some ornamental grasses and other plantings as well. But the purpose here out front certainly was to buffer this northern property line and buffer this residence to the north. Along the front, we've proposed a wrought iron gate. We've proposed some shrubbery along the back of the sidewalk here. We didn't want to propose anything significant like the evergreens on the front here because we didn't want to obstruct sight distances in or out of the site with vehicles as they enter or exit. That pretty much concludes how we came out with this layout. We're upgrading all the utilities. We've upgraded the parking lot, the drainage, as I've shown and outlined in that document there. I'd entertain any questions. Yes?
Proposing, pardon me, are you proposing any new hydrants?
No, we were not proposing any new hydrants as part of this project.
What do you think?
The building itself is going to be fully sprinklered.
The outdoor seating area, is there fire egress from there? Without having to go back through the building?
There's a
said there was
walkway
a-
right down the side.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a few questions. Thanks for a very complete presentation, by the way. Do you anticipate an external grease trap here? Is that a design
Grease
question?
trap. Probably more of a design
Okay,
question.
that's probably should have
There,
asked it.
there may be, if there was, it would be a subsurface grease trap.
That would be a subsurface grease trap.
And do you, so would that be in this parking lot here?
Yes, it would
Okay.
be.
All
Yes.
right. The dumpster enclosure, do you have any details on the screening material?
Yep. Yeah, this one here, let's see if I included a detail on it. I have a dumpster enclosure detail. Got a dumpster pad, and it doesn't.
Chain link fence.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see a slightly, I'd like them to take a look at the dumpster enclosure and look at something a bit more aesthetic.
Is it a concrete enclosure?
It's a concrete pad that it's placed on, but as far as the enclosure, we could either do a wooden enclosure
Something
or
along those lines.
a vinyl clad fence.
That's what you're showing on the plan here.
Vinyl clad, do I
Is
have
that
the
where it is?
detail
I
there?
couldn't find,
5 or 7, you'll see it.
5 of 7, I have it listed.
Top left.
Oh, there it is.
got it, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay.
Sorry,
great.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it's
And that's
fine.
height, what was the,
The height on it's 8 feet.
8 feet, perfect.
So then a
10 by
wooden
10
one,
Square.
Yep.
a wooden one would definitely be preferable to the chain link you're showing here.
They're showing chain, I don't see chain link.
It says chain link fence
Yeah.
dumpster enclosure.
The chain link fence
Yeah,
with the
this one.
vinyl slats.
Oh, with the
in it.
vinyl
This
slats, oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Okay,
Yeah,
I see
wooden.
what you're looking-
The,
Definitely wouldn't. Sorry, Alex, sorry, one more on the dumpster enclosure while we're on it. Since it's a restaurant use, from an engineering standpoint, I'd love to see a drain in that dumpster pad for purposes of cleaning it out, so whatever's being cleaned in the dumpster pad doesn't run down into the parking lot. It would be better to just have it go into a dry well system and recharge and clean out the dry well now and then. They can probably handle that with a hose bib from the building, but it'd be great if you can show a drain in the dumpster pad.
I don't see why we couldn't. It all drains to a catch basin, but putting something
Prefer not to
closer-
have the grease running across the parking lot.
Absolutely. It's an easy change.
The dumpster itself probably should be something state-of-the-art, because that is going to be the potential source of trouble.
Yeah, the Board of Health regulations on these require that the tops of the dumpsters be covered
Right.
as well.
But I'm
and
sure
then-
there are different kinds of dumpsters out there on the market, and there are probably some that are better than others.
Can look into it.
We'd like the best.
The state-of-the-art dumpster.
I just want to add that the rules next year are changing so that food waste, food scraps will not be allowed to be placed into dumpsters, which should be good for all of us in terms of what's happening with dumpsters at restaurants. But it's next year, and that, we'll have to see how that goes.
Where do they go?
Compost.
They're decomposted. It's not quite, we're not quite going back to the old garbage pail in the yard like I had at my house growing up. But the idea actually is that I think they'll be collected, the compost will be collected and used.
It's being sealed
I mean,
containers.
food scraps.
How many times a week?
It's not, it's a future regulation. I just mention it only because there are always concerns about that, food waste scraps and what's going to happen with them when they're sitting there in the dumpster. So I don't know all the rules yet, but I do know that it's changing.
Question? On the public sidewalk, when you transition from the public sidewalk to crossing your curb cut to the driveway entrance and back onto the public sidewalk, what will that material be?
Back here, these
Yeah,
transitions.
those two transitions.
This is all concrete sidewalk.
So you're
and-
going to have a concrete entry
Yes.
into the, okay.
And at each of the intersections to the curb cut, would be an ADA ramp,
Okay, good.
a transition.
Are you looking at any sort of change in the materials or just,
No, the parking lot and the driveways will be standard asphalt.
Okay.
The sidewalks will be concrete.
all right.
And the edge condition on the lot, is it just bituminous berm, or are you looking at a concrete?
It's a precast concrete
Precast concrete.
curb. Yep,
I could look at the
6-inch
plan, but-
reveal minimum.
Great,
Yep.
thanks.
The Franklin Street lot, it has a double-barrel entrance, and then it goes around in a double-barrel exit. And it does seem to me that the presentation is basically for access to this building. And you've heard the discussion that it can be, it should be oriented more to getting people onto the street
It was,
in an aesthetically pleasing way.
And just for clarity on on that discussion, it's not the distance of the lot from the building that we're concerned about. Obviously, it's not very far away. It's making sure that people understand that that lot is connected to this building so that they understand that they have the right to park there.
Well, I
And
think
making it
it's-
convenient for them to do so.
I'm just thinking, and I understood the question originally, but I was thinking, at the time the valet, when Marion
Yep,
said
signs.
Adams Street, and obviously you wouldn't want to stop out there, and at that time I was thinking, why don't you valet from the parking lot that exists, which you explained.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
When I was a
you,
young guy, I worked in a restaurant, and the valet parking lot, you wouldn't have known where it was. And there was no intention of you needing to know where it was.
Yeah.
So in this sense, it would seem to me, if it was my restaurant, I'd encourage everybody to park in the parking lot adjacent to the building and let the valet handle the overflow to the
Right.
valet lot.
That's what they do at 88 Wharf.
Which makes sense, yeah.
That's what they
I
do
think
at
that's
88
our
Wharf.
intent.
Well, except for your double-barrel parking, you can't double-barrel it if you're not
Exactly.
going
So
to
we-
have the valet.
Valet is-
You're going to lose a 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll lose a lot of spaces.
You have to have the valet. yeah.
Valet is
Yeah.
included in our
Valet.
proposal, yeah.
Is there any ability for the public to interject here?
We're going to,
The abutting property.
we're going to, what we're doing is,
Just before we go, the dumpster, we met with the Falcones last week, and we had a pleasant meeting with them. You know, they made a bunch of concessions. They said they were gonna move the dumpster, but they told us it was gonna be a complete concrete structure, which is going against. So before we get off topic of the dumpster, I'd like
you can't be heard. We're going to open, we're going to have public comment. We're going to finish the
Okay, I
board's,
apologize.
the board's discussion. Then people who want to speak are going to come up, they're going to speak into the microphone, they're going to identify themselves, and they're going to have plenty of time to make known their concerns. So, but this may be a good segue.
I'm ready to segue to public
All right,
comments.
yes, Marion.
Just to respond, though, to that, I think the applicants are willing to put whatever you want them to put around the dumpster. And there'll be more discussion, I'm sure, when you hear from neighbors, so.
All right.
Thank you.
Now, why don't, you've got to make room for people who want to speak. Now, are they going to be using this microphone? They're going to have to use this microphone. We can't keep switching that.
Probably Thank you. You can sit
If
down
you want
like.
to give me that
All
microphone, I'll give
right.
it back.
Now we're opening, yes, sir, you may start. We're opening the hearing up to public comment, and identify yourself and make your comment. And
My name's Rich Hines. I live at 1 Paradise Road in Milton. I'm speaking beyond, this is my brother John Hines. I live at 159 Pleasant Street. We're speaking on behalf of our parents, Dick and Kathleen Hines of 20 Church Street, which is the abutting property to the north. You know, we spoke at the last meeting, the Board of Appeals meeting that's going to be continued. We had a lot of concerns. We heard both sides of it. Like I said, we just met with the Falcones. They were nice enough to reach out to us. We went to their office. We went over the plans. Aesthetically, what they're doing with the building, we think is great. The trees, you know, they're very concerned. They want to cut down the noise, all of that. They moved the dumpster. We asked them to move the dumpster. They did move it, you know, 15, 20 feet into the parking lot with the promise of building a
Some type of stone
stone,
enclosed
brick,
structure.
enclosed structure, not, you know, our concern, you know, I know this law is going to come next year if it gets passed. I mean, I don't think it's definitely been passed, so we can't assume it's going to be passed. So that is a major concern for my family, is that until it's passed, that food will be dumped in these dumpsters. And we need, like you said, top-of-the-line dumpsters and an enclosed structure, not a chain link fence with, that something a rat can chew its way through to get in there. So that's a major concern, and, you know, we had thought that that was all set when we met with the Falcones, but we just want to reiterate that that's what's needed on that dumpster. Now, at the Board of Appeals meeting, you know, there was a lot of discussion about the traffic and the flow, and, you know, I read the Milton Times article that came out this week that the parking's been solved, which I didn't know that was the case. I thought it was still a discussion. But, you know, when we went with the Falcones last week, they mentioned that this parking lot on Church Street was going to be the main drop-off for valet, which is, I think, even worse for the residents of Church Street. I have no problem having it being used as a valet parking lot, as a drop-off, but if you're having every car that comes up for that 160-seat restaurant multiple times a night, so if a car comes up, it gets dropped off, it goes out, that means you're doubling the traffic on Church Street, which was never brought up in the last meeting. So,
Traffic's pretty busy at 5 o'clock, we get that, but
you know,
this is
right
the
now,
case.
you drive Church Street at 8 o'clock, there's no traffic. But obviously, if you're adding a 160-seat restaurant,
And that's a main
and you're
drop-off place.
using that as the main drop-off place, and you're encouraging people not to go to the other lots, to go there to get your cars out on a one-way road. I mean, I don't know how people are going to back out of their driveways. And it's not like it's a giant parking lot. It's a 25-spot lot that has a small archway to go in and out. So if your valet station is at the top of the archway, you have 2 or 3 cars maximum that can be waiting, and then you have a line of cars on Church Street backed up. So you have those, and the people, the Browns facing the lot, you can have double the lights coming out, double the, it's just, it's concerning.
Yeah. One other thing you guys mentioned earlier, if there's going to be an entrance in the back of the restaurant, and you talked about going around the restaurant, that's going to create a lot of foot noise and a lot of foot traffic to my parents' house.
Which again,
right
that was-
now, there's no plan to have people be able to walk around that back of the restaurant. If that's the case, that's going to create a lot of noise for my parents right there.
Again,
Well,
that was
if
another.
If that were suggested, then we would have to
Well, it was.
weigh the pros and cons.
Okay.
And the one thing that everyone here should be aware of, the Board of Appeals is meeting on
15th?
the 15th.
13th.
The 13th. And the traffic, the parking is something they are going to determine, and exactly what they determine is, of course, going to be determined by the Board of Appeals, not by the Planning Board. And
Well, I mean, it was discussed in
so,
detail
so
tonight,
it certainly hasn't been resolved, and
Well,
this board,
in the Milton Times, it was
Right,
quoted
right.
that it's been resolved.
right, but it hasn't been resolved. So
Okay.
you should bear in
Fair
mind
enough.
that you should attend that hearing, because what we're doing is that the design of the parking is in fact something we can look at. We can't determine the parking. That's something the Board of Appeals determines. And the Board of Appeals is actually dealing with a special permit for a portion because of the building being too close to the lot lines. And we are dealing with site plan approval, so it's a complicated procedural situation.
And can I add another complication that maybe could be part of the solution? Is we keep referring this to as the Falcones, and it's their building, it's their project, but Vance and his other investor that own Abbey Park are also going to be running this restaurant, correct? And so they're taking those spots that are used by Abbey Park, and they're moving into Santander and whatever the other lots are, the funeral home. I mean, it's pretty clear, again, in the Milton article, that Vance is going to be running both restaurants. I think there needs to be a solution with Vance, the Falcones, and the town of Milton about using all of these lots for both restaurants and combining them, right? Because you say
People aren't going to know to walk
this
over.
restaurant has 2.5 spots per, or 1 spot for every 2.5 person. Whereas, but you're taking spots from Abbey Park, and there's 160 spot, or 120 person restaurant there as well. My suggestion is, valet is great. You can control where people are parking, but I don't think putting it on Church Street is the right answer, right? You have both restaurants of the same ownership. I think the town needs to get involved in whether it's in front of Abbey Park or whether it's in front of Starbucks at 5 o'clock or at 6 o'clock at night. Dedicate 2 spots for valet there. You walk to your right, you go to the new Italian restaurant. You walk to your left, and you go to Abbey Park. And then you're reducing the number of cars and patrons that are coming up Church Street, that are parking on Franklin Street. Then get these cars out to whatever, Dolan Funeral Home or whatever it's called, and Santander, and the Sprint building they're talking about, like all these different lots. It's controlled in front of the restaurants, not in a residential area behind.
Can I just make a recommendation? I'm not sure how much this board has purview of that, but I think working with Mr. Duffy, who clearly has the same concern about the traffic in the area, it would be a great idea for the neighbors in East Milton Square to force the Traffic Commission to sit down and deal with all of this. And it would make everyone's job at this table and everyone's job in that neighborhood, there's business owners, homeowners, and office and building owners, a lot easier. So it seems like it would be a good idea to get everybody at the table, but I'm not sure this is the table to have it at.
But it is a good idea.
It's a great idea.
Good idea.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea.
It should happen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think that in the morning, Bill should talk to the police chief, and as well as the zoning board, and put the horse in front of the cart and find out which one goes first and so on and so forth. Bill, there has to be some communication between the police chief, which is the Traffic Commission, and the ZBA. They have to talk to each other. Start talking to each other. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All right.
I apologize for interrupting earlier.
No, that's okay. It was a good transition. Who else wants to be heard?
Good evening, Board. Tony McDonald, 4 Mechanic Street. I'm in a butter to this project. This is ludicrous. This is absolutely ludicrous. The box should be torn down. There are storefronts there. That's what you got. This was something built in the 30s. People walked. We didn't have the traffic and the cars and all that. It's a box. Tear it down. This is ludicrous. The impact on the residential neighborhood there is horrendous. Horrendous as it is. Every car that's going to go to this restaurant coming down Church Street is going to shine on my house. Every single one of them. During the day, at 7 o'clock at night there, we have peace. Things quiet down. It's almost like the carpets are rolled up. That's our quiet time. Now they want to take it away from us. There's a restaurant there, Abbey Park. I stayed away from that because I looked at the plans, they had parking, everything was all set. It was not an impact. Now you want to take that away from Abbey Park? Well, Abbey Park should go if they got no parking there. Because I'm not going to go park at Dolan and walk up to Abbey Park to go and have a burger. It's not going to happen. It's ludicrous. And no matter how you slice it, it ain't going to work. It ain't going to fit. It's just not going to fit there. There's a bus stop in front of my house, parallel with Church Street, blocks the light. Traffic is going to be all backed up in the residential neighborhood there. It happens every day without the restaurant there. It's horrible. It's horrendous. That bus stop has moved 3 or 4 times already. Shouldn't be there at all. Should be way up the street somewhere, not in the square. Ludicrous. It's insane. It's insane what's going on here. It's craziness. And now, we're going to put more parking over on Santana. Right next door to me. The bank closes at 3, 4. I have peace. After that, we're going to have the drunks and everybody else coming in there. It's going to be an upper-class restaurant. Well, what if that fails? Then what's going in there? Hooters? The Falcones are interested in making money. They want to fill the spot. What are we going to put in there? Geez, it's going to be good for Milton. It's going to be good for the taxpayers. Well, I'm paying a lot of taxes. And I'll continue to pay more taxes, I'm sure. I don't see it helping me at all. I see it hurting me. I've got some land there, and I don't want to build on it because I see what you're doing. You're going to croak me. What am I going to do? It's a residential piece of property, and who's going to rent it from me? Who's going to move there? Who wants to live there with all the traffic and everything else there? I would say tear down the box and back and rent out the storefronts. That's what it should be. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ed DeRocco. I live at 9 Church Street, which is directly across from the proposed parking lot. That's the smaller parking lot. One of the things I'm concerned about that hasn't been addressed, and this has to do more with the planning site, is the lighting that's going to be in the parking lot. I have a two-family home, and I have tenants. I'm concerned about that lighting flooding into our space, because we're up high. We're up as high as probably where those lights are going to be. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe those lights have to be on when it's dark and all night, not just during the operation of hours, but all the time. And I heard that that's a regulation. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's going to affect my sleep, for one thing. And also, you're talking about deliveries. You got a one-way street. We have delivery trucks parking on the sidewalk now that you can't get up and down that street. It's a one-way street. You get a Cisco truck delivering goods. You've seen a Cisco truck. That's a 10-wheeler. Can you imagine that going through the neighborhood? Has to go all the way down Franklin, down Bassett, up Church, and then he has to get into that little cutout with a huge truck. Oh, no, he's going to park it right there and get the two-wheeler out because he can't get in that parking lot. You can't get a 10-wheeler back there.
I'm Nancy DeRocco.
This is my wife, Nancy.
We live directly across the street. The neighborhood right now is extremely congested. I mean, we can't get in and out of our driveways now, even with all the businesses, because right now, all the people that work in the square park on Church Street, and we've had many problems. There's a lot of children in the neighborhood. The trucks come up. They block our driveways. I mean, there's just numerous issues. We are concerned with the lighting, the security lighting, because literally our house is directly across from the parking lot.
So you have, I'm sorry, Nancy.
Go ahead.
We have those lights will be coming out at night, right into our first floor. There's no other way for them to come. They have to come out.
Well, lights actually can be directed to shine down.
Well, how about the lights in the automobile? How are they going to be shining down?
Lights of
You
the
have
automobile.
cars coming out of
But
there
you're still
all
going to
night
have
long.
lighting. We have a tenant on the first floor. We live on the second and third floors. There's still going to be lights shining in our house. I mean, we're not opposed to Milton development, but we feel as though this project is like very big. It's a huge project in a very small, already congested neighborhood.
One thing you should understand about site plan approval is that we are not granting a permit for the use. The use is a use which is a restaurant use, is something you can do in the business district. We're not determining the parking requirements. What we don't have the opportunity to say, no, this is no good, we're turning this project down. What we have the opportunity to do is to hear concerns, to make this project as pleasant a project for everyone concerned. And your comments about lights are something that needs attention. But just bear in mind that at the end of the hearing, we don't have the option of saying, sorry, no project. That's not in our jurisdiction. The Board of Appeals can determine parking, and it's going to do a special permit because of the fact the building's too close to a line. But I think that it's unlikely that they would simply turn down the project, but that's up to them.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
One thing that we can do, however, is ask for lighting details, which I noticed weren't in our package. I actually meant to ask for that earlier. Because we have the lighting study showing what the illumination will be at different sites, but we don't actually have the details of the proposed lights.
And
And we should have those.
The exiting lights, it would be good to have some information on exiting lights.
Mm-hmm. Also, I think in the application, the proposed hours of the lighting may have been too I was concerned at how long they were. I'm not sure that they actually have to stay on all night, so we need to double check that.
Why would they have to stay on all
Well, they were,
night?
it was in the proposal
They
that
said
they'd be
for
on.
security
for-
reasons.
For security reasons.
Yeah,
that could be
but the
addressed
parking
as well.
lights don't
You don't have to
necessarily
have
have to be
all the
on.
lights on.
Exactly, so we need to clarify which lights are going to be
Minimum
on
after
when.
operating hours
Yeah,
per state law. Right.
yeah.
Thank you.
I have just one more thing to say. Also in regards to, this might be more of a planning board thing, our view coming out there, when those two homes come down, we're just looking at a big brick wall, basically. I mean, right now, we've been looking at two homes. I'm not going to say they're the most beautiful homes I've ever seen, and I think, thumbs up for trying to develop this property. But I don't want to be looking out there over at a void. And then you're talking about a couple little plants in front and a couple little trees. You can't block too much. So all I'm really going to be seeing is that.
You would say that brick wall is an eyesore. You might as well say it, because I think that it
But
is.
on the other hand, I don't want big windows with people that could see what I'm doing and I can see what they're eating either. I mean, I don't want to see that either.
Thank you.
All right, well, I think
literally,
big
let me
windows
show you
don't,
where
big
my house-
windows don't
Let me show you
have to
where my
be.
house is so you can see where I
Okay.
live. Right there, you can see it right. Okay, that's where we live right there. So you can see what we're
What your
concerned
view
about.
is, yeah.
So all the cars coming down here, it's gonna go in front of our house and when they come out, that's where we live, so. But I don't wanna see what they're eating, so I'm not into
The
having-
windows can be treated so that you cannot see what they're eating.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello,
Hello.
my name is Suzanne Brown. I live at the corner of Church and Adams, and I'm probably, along with Mr. McDermott, probably going to have the most impact with this restaurant. First of all, I've been to 3 meetings now, and every time I go, the parking gets increased. 21 spaces, 23 spaces, now it's 25 because they moved the dumpster. The valet parking that they talked about tonight at the Church Street parking lot was never mentioned in the meeting. Never. Now you're increasing the it was mentioned as valet, but it was never mentioned in the Church Street parking lot. Now you're adding all the cars and all the traffic now onto Church Street. Between Bassett Street and the top of Church Street, there's 15 to 20 kids that live on that street. Okay? So now you're adding the traffic for 160 patrons, plus the normal capacity on Church Street. I can't get out of my driveway now. Okay? On a Friday afternoon, 5, 6 o'clock, there's a 5-car backup. So now I'm going to have a line for valet parking, too. The street isn't big enough to split, the right side's going to be valet and the left side's going to be a pass-through, because there is parking on the street. Marion said, the restaurant can use public parking. Public parking is Church Street. That's the closest thing to it. There's no resident parking. There's been talk of resident parking. There's not enough spots. There's a shell game going on with the parking as far as Abbey Park's now going to use Santander and Citizens. Okay, I was here in front of you people for the Abbey Park meeting. I was at every Abbey Park meeting. One of your conditions, when I want you to go back and look, was that the parking is on their website, where you could park. You could park at Dolan's, you could park at Citizens, and you could park at the Falcone parking lot after a certain time. It's nowhere on their website. Okay, so now you're going to give me a new restaurant and tell me the parking is going to be on Church Street and Franklin Street. No one's going to enforce it. If you go down on Friday or Saturday night, Franklin Street parking. Everybody from Abbey Park is now in that Franklin Street parking lot. So now how are you going to enforce that the people from the new restaurant get to park there? Or they have to park, who's directing this? It's a monkey show as far as the parking. Oh, it's a free-for-all. You want to park at Santander, fine. I can't see people parking at Citizens Bank. Even though it's a short walk, there's no way everyone's going to go to Granite Ave and park in Citizens Bank. You're fooling yourself. And for you to give approval for 5 spots down Dolan's Funeral Home, that's even funnier. Seating capacity, they say 140 and then 20 outside. They haven't given any occupancy. That's only the seating, not the occupancy, not the people standing at the bar or waiting. So we're not including them in the traffic study or a car study or parking or what have you. The parking lot, as Eddie and Nancy said, the lighting's going to have a huge impact. And it is state law, it has to stay open. If it's a parking lot, it has to be on. So now, we're on the second floor, and now we have lights, okay? We've been to 3 meetings. I expected some lighting here. You know, there's not even a showing of where the lights would go. Okay? But the biggest impact, and this, they're doing it for financial reasons, and they picked it, you know, this would be the best thing for their town instead of doing apartments and impacting the schools. But yet, way their parking lot is, and I know you can't do parking, but you have to understand where I'm coming from, and it's directly impacting me. They're going out, the headlights of the car, and I said this twice to them, headlights of the car go directly into my yard on my porch, and now impacting 2 bedrooms on the first floor and a bathroom, okay? So now my parents rent. They can't rent the apartment, so what? Oh, well, we got a nice restaurant next door. I can't get the rent that I was getting because you have lights going until midnight or 12:30. So who cares about that? Oh, well, it's a nice restaurant. You know, right now, the latest car, if the boutique stays open, is 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock you can deal with, okay, it's 1 car, 2 cars. The people that live there, it's not a noisemaker. Now I have all of the valet. So I have people coming out to get their car. There's talk, there's this, there's that. I have a Dunkin' Donuts delivery at 3 a.m. in the morning. I can tell you when it's delivered because I hear it. You can't tell me that the trees are going to help this. Okay, that's at Dunkin' Donuts. I'm right on the corner. I'll show you my house. There's a trash pickup at 5:15 in the morning. Right there on the corner, the big white house. That's it. So for you to say, okay, well, we're going to have the same hours as Abbey Park, so I'm going to have people coming out after a few drinks and talking. And they don't mean to be talking loud, but I have bedrooms on that side. I have children. Okay? I'm dealing with enough. And, you know, he mentions about the expressway and this and that. We don't hear the expressway. I grew up in that house. I've been in that house 50 years. The square grew around us. I didn't move here and know that there was a restaurant going there, or there was going to be a parking lot across the street. You know, and I honestly believe he can have his restaurant, fine. Leave the 2 houses across the street and don't make the parking lot there. But no, for financial reasons, they have to do it, but it's going to impact me financially. And then the vents. Poor Mrs. Hines in the back with the kitchen. She's going to hear the vents and possibly the smell. And nobody in the square can tell me you don't smell Mr. Chan's on a good day. The walkway with lights would affect her. That would be a major impact for her. You know, they did a traffic study, but yet this is the first meeting that they say they're putting the valet on Church Street. You can't tell me, okay, just say it's 50 more cars or 100 more cars. 100 more cars on Church Street? It wasn't built for that. And to let you know, we're probably exploring legal counsel to represent us.
Okay. Well, I think the valet on Adams Street sounds like a good plan.
But it's still, you know, what happens with my rent? That I can't rent it because I have a disco light, you know, lights going straight across. They're coming out. Mr. White, I will say, and I know you can't do it, anything on it. They're coming out right here, and they were pretty generous as far as it. Here is my porch, where we spend most of the summer, right here. So coming straight out, I can wave at everybody, you know, with the headlights on. Then they turn. When they turn, they hit every single thing here on the first floor. Okay, and the gentleman that got up there, his house is right here.
And I can wave to them.
Yeah, you can wave to him right after that. You know, it's to put it back up here is ridiculous. And actually, he's impacting me financially, this restaurant.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Paul Travis. I live on Hurlcroft Road in East Milton. I'm a business owner and a commercial property owner in the square. I'm also a member of the Chamber of Commerce. Milton, as you know, is changing. I've lived and worked in the town for over 40 years, have grown my family there and my business. I've seen a number of changes, and we're going to see more. Not long ago, we had old schools, an old library, no Milton Marketplace, CVS, no Abbey Park, Steel and Rye, Plate, in fact, no real restaurants at all. No fitness center, no condos, no senior living. Milton Hospital was a small town hospital. Now it's a large medical facility servicing the town and its residents. With Quincy closing, it's going to help more of the South Shore, our neighbors. Milton's population, as you know, in the master plan in front of you, is changing. It's getting younger. With our new schools and location of Boston, it's drawing a new generation of residents who want a place to shop, dine, get a haircut, spend time with neighbors and friends in their own town. The Falcone Company has a plan to take an old, empty building in dire need of repair, put a fresh face on it, and put it on the tax rolls. If anyone knows the Falcones, they have pride in ownership of their properties. One way you can tell this is they always put their name on the property, which is very important for a property owner. Thank you.
All right, who else wants to be heard?
Hi, I'm Dr. Cindy Christensen. I live at 59 Collimore Street, and I'm a town meeting member for Precinct 7, which consists mostly of areas east of the highway. I'm in favor of the improvements, the restaurant, and I think the Falcones are thoughtful and honest developers whose ears are open and remain open to seen and unforeseen problems. However, I understand the frustration of my fellow Precinct 7 neighbors. It's difficult to trust that the town will adequately handle any additional problems in East Milton when services and protection of residents now is so inadequate. I'm speaking tonight to ask that members of the board, in your roles as community leaders, speak up on behalf of those of us who live in East Milton, not just tonight, but in the future. We need a fair share of town services. We need a fair share of the tax revenue that this new restaurant will bring. East Milton is a place for most of you to visit, but it's a place many of us live. If we currently had adequate town services and protections in our neighborhood, I think some of the concerns voiced tonight would have been lessened. However, these should not be the Falcones' problems to fix. We're tired of hearing that there's nothing that can be done about cut-through traffic and traffic violators. The chief said that there were about 5,000 moving and parking violations written by Milton Police Department last year. That's about 12 or 13 per day. One could give out this many each morning in East Milton Square. But traffic enforcement isn't just a Milton Police Department problem. Some have said that people and business owners don't want the police to increase ticketing. If this is the reason that traffic and parking laws are not enforced, then shame on Milton. Right now, children who live east of the highway have no safe route to school. Next year, school bus fare is excessively high, and there are no crossing guards for the public school children in our area. With little enforcement of traffic and parking laws and traffic lights that often do not work, we need the community to share the responsibility to get the children east of the highway to school safely. However, once again, these should not be business owners or developer problems to fix. I want to thank Marion McEtrick, Jeannie Schmidt, and Brian Furs for talking with me before this meeting and listening to my concerns. I think they got it. So just in conclusion, here's my advice. If the town wants nice places to visit in East Milton, please be sure and speak up to ensure that all of the residents, including those of us who live east of the highway, have a fair share of town services and protections now, new restaurant or not. It will make it easier on the next developer who comes before your board. Thank you.
How's that for
Well,
an entrance?
very nicely done.
My name is April Anderson Lamoureux. I live at 249 Brook Road, and I'm here to speak in support of the project before you tonight. I've also brought 13 letters of support from other residents of Milton who weren't able to get here tonight because of school vacation and other obligations, so I'll give them to Bill, and hopefully he can get you copies. On Christmas Eve, of all days, I got a wonderful gift from the town of Milton in the form of a new tax bill, which unsurprisingly went up again for the 8th time in the 8 years that I've lived here. You know, I say that as a joke, but it's not at all a joke. It's a big challenge for my family to make all these ends meet. I'm a 2-parent working household with 3 kids, and when I moved to Milton, I knew that the taxes were not cheap, but I didn't realize how much they were going to continue to grow year over year. I'm also an economic development professional. I've worked in economic development for almost 20 years through the past 2 administrations, Romney and Patrick. And so I have a lot of exposure to these issues, and I'm certainly sensitive to the concerns of the abutters and the residents in East Milton who are concerned about traffic and concerned about illegal parking, which incidentally doesn't seem like an unsolvable problem. And I would be glad to participate in any conversation that is available for the public to participate in on ways to solve that. I mean, I would have to think that some creative thinking for enforcement could solve at least the illegal parking problems in short order. I know the quickest way to solve me from parking illegally is to give me a ticket, and the word travels fast. So hopefully there'll be a separate conversation about that issue, and I'd be glad to donate my time to try to figure that out. But for this conversation, I'm concerned about the stability of our community, economic stability of our community. We have very few business districts in our town, which is exactly the way the town of Milton wants it to be. And I feel the same way. And we have even fewer available properties in our existing business districts that offer any opportunity really for growth. This is one location that I think offers quite a bit of opportunity for exciting new commercial development. And I'm even more excited by the fact that it's a local family-owned development company that we're able to work with here tonight. It's not some multinational company who doesn't care about what's going to happen in the community. It's a family of people who have been born and raised here, have other interests in the square, and will continue to keep it nice. And I think, from what I've heard tonight, have done a decent job of trying to reach out to the abutters and the affected parties and try to come up with reasonable solutions to move forward. So what I would like to say is that I'm a resident, I'm a taxpayer, I'm a town meeting member. I anticipate that this spring I'm going to be forced to vote on another budget that reduces services at the public schools, which is of grave concern to me, having 3 young children. I'm also concerned about cuts in other town services. And bottom line, we're broke and we need revenue. And this is an opportunity to add some revenue. It's not going to solve the whole problem, obviously, but it's a baby step in the right direction. And I would like to believe that all of the challenges that have been delineated so far are resolvable. I know the devil is in the details. I respect all of your work, and I think you've done a nice job of guiding the conversation tonight, and I'm hopeful that we can get to a timely conclusion here that allows the project to move forward. So thank you.
Now, it seems to me that with respect to parking and the use of Church Street, that you make a point that going around and bringing 18-wheelers or 10-wheelers, however much, into Church Street isn't such a great idea. And if there were a loading zone, valet zone in front of the building, it would seem to me that that would reduce the use of Church Street fairly significantly, and it seems it seems like a good idea to me. And then, of course, if the valet was taken and put in front of the entrance, the valet station on Church Street would no longer be used, and you wouldn't have double stack parking. You would just have regular old parking, and the valet would go down to the Franklin Street lot. And that seems like it's an idea that should be explored seriously, because Church Street's not a very big street.
I agree with you. I think nor are the streets leading to Church Street, which will need to be traveled on because it's a one-way road. I'm going to reemphasize that I work in other communities as on the other side of the table, and lots of other communities with similar parking problems. I'll cite Wellesley as an example. Require these businesses to go out and come up with a plan to work it out together, and I think there's an opportunity here that perhaps, perhaps the Lyons family, the Hines family touched on, but certainly I don't think the burden can be on this specific applicant, but I think the burden needs to be on our town to put together a program for East Milton Square generally to make this work, and some of that's going to have to be working in the residential neighborhoods to incentivize people not to park there.
Yeah, more enforcement. I really liked the idea of a joint valet system. It's not something that we can do. It's not within our purview, but it's a very clever idea if we can get the other restaurant and business owners in the area to work among themselves and with the town to institute something like that. It could solve a lot of problems. So again, not something we can enforce, but something we could maybe encourage.
Well, and it's something we could recommend to the town, such as, I think, resident parking after 6 in those residential areas is sort of a no-brainer.
It seems that way.
And in any event,